So, Fat Man,
So sleazy.
what do you want to talk about?
No.
You don't know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Let's just shoot the breeze on the wrestling show. Welcome, everyone. This is Sleazy.
This is fuck Dave Meltzer.
Welcome, everyone, to another wonderful episode. First of all, let me introduce the former reigning, defending Wrestling Jeopardy champion, Mr. Brandon Dietz.
Coming home on Thursday, fuckers.
Well, you gotta get through me
Two-time coming.
first. You gotta cut through me, you motherfucker. And of course, I still can't believe this. TWS, the wrestling show's first ever gold medalist.
That's
Heavy
right.
G.
Right. And if you want to get like me, you have to follow the three I's. You got your iced donuts. You got your ice cream. And you got your insulin. You're good to go.
Yes!
If you want to follow my footsteps, but no, but thank you. Finally got my gold medal from winning my tournament in May. So
That's
so
awesome.
so it's finally I can say I'm the gold medalist on the show. And by the way, interim champion,
Yeah. Interim champion.
which I am gladly giving up this Thursday, by the way.
Don't worry. I will be taking it.
You can have it. I'm bowing out.
Bowing out. How dare you?
Someone's got to keep score so you can win a game.
Yeah, well, I'm still going to do it. Still going to do it. Still going to win.
I mean, he has to get a question right first in order to win.
Oh, yeah, not say I don't know anything.
That's fair. You're not wrong here. Today we're kind of doing something a little bit different. We love to every once in a while. There's nothing really to review. There might be an indie show here or there, but we haven't really just shot the breeze. So I've got a bunch of little topics here and there. If you're watching along with us, if you got opinions on there, don't hesitate to throw them in the chat. We'll talk all the way through them. We talk about a lot of different things on the show. The biggest thing that I want to really start off with is the evolution of professional wrestling over the last 50, 60, 70 years. So much has changed over that time frame. And obviously even further back than that, but I want to really focus on like 70s to now. And the reasoning behind that is that we went from the power slam being the be all end all move to Canadian destroyers being transitional moves and whatnot, and psychology being the main thing that brought people into professional wrestling to athletic prowess and being able to do these huge moves, but also having these huge years long storylines like the bloodline and even MJF's rise to the top, and just having all these different storylines. I want to start with Fatman because Fatman and I have talked about this a lot over the years. What are your thoughts about the current generation, the current era of professional wrestling versus previous eras?
They're more athletic, and basically the storytelling is better. Basically, it was a champion in the 70s. He would feud with this guy. I mean, it's different because there were territories back then too. So he'd go around the horn with a guy, and then go around the horn with another guy, and another guy, and another guy. And heels didn't stay very long because they went to another territory where they were a fresh act. Now that wrestling's a national, since wrestling's grown into being a national, worldly audience with, internet and streaming and everything. You got to have something to hold people's attention, and storylines are what do it. So, yeah.
It's good. It's good points. Heavy G, what do you think here?
This I'm the old bastard here. Uh, uh, the storylines like back in the 70s. I mean, the storylines really got you. Like they said about long storylines, like Dusty Rhodes against the Horsemen back in the 80s. I mean, that was how many years? Uh, and then coming to now, like I said, the athletes are bigger, stronger, faster, can jump higher, can flip 3 times. Uh, I'm probably like in the camp that yeah, the moves are great, but sometimes you don't need to have 4 Canadian destroyers in a match. Or
Limit it to 3, man.
yeah, I to me, if you just, I mean, the high spots are good, but nothing beats nothing beats a great storyline and a good technical match. To me, one of my favorite matches to watch is the Ric Flair Ricky Steamboat Best of Three, and there wasn't any high spots. There was Ricky coming off the top rope for either a chop or a crossbody.
It,
To me,
I think it's more so is less is more. You don't need to do 1,000 Canadian destroyers.
exactly.
Do one where it makes sense in the match.
Yep. Like I always this is my favorite quote from Jim Cornette. It's like first you have to go through a table, then you have to set the table on fire. Then the table that's on fire has to be hypodermic needles strewn across it, and then
How dare you
it's
talk about ECW like that?
but uh
And then they're not infested with hepatitis C, it's AIDS. Like,
yes, right, it's like you can only push it so far. I like it that the fact of getting back to real good storylines, like you said, and it's storylines are what keeps the fans interested. I mean, if you have to have when they got this thing where they were just doing month-long things, it just you're disconnected.
It makes sense. Deets, I'm not sure if you heard the beginning prompt here, but basically the differences between like 60s, 70s, 80s wrestling to now. What are your opinions on this era of wrestling in comparison to previous eras?
It's the athletic ability. Like that to me is the biggest thing out of them all. You went from a bodybuilder type to essentially an all rounder of all shapes and sizes. I mean, back in '84, we had the Hogans who 6'8", 6'9", 303 pounds, juice to the gills. You don't really have that anymore. You've got guys that can range from 5'5" to 6'8". All are going to be incredibly good shape. And then you got some of these guys who can just do unnatural things. My favorite case in point is Neville. Pac. Pac is literally a walking human muscle and can legitimately do everything. He can work a cruiserweight style. He can work a heavyweight style. He can be a high flyer. He can be a grounder. He can do everything. You couldn't put him in the 80s and say work with somebody back then because nobody would understand it.
It's a fair point. I think there's something to be said about that. I think also the athleticism comes at a cost. And the cost is you got to make sure that you're telling the right story in the ring. One of the things that you're kind of forced to do, or when you're back in the 80s, you were kind of forced to do this, is have that, and when I say story, I mean within the confines of the match. Very simple. Face gets his shine, cut off, heat, double down, comeback, finish. These are building blocks of professional wrestling from day one. Everyone is taught that. A lot of times now, while the general recipe is still there, there's so much difference in between how a match is laid out now versus even 20 years ago, 25 years
with
ago.
the match layout. And the other big thing is the spamming. And granted, it because we've been around for, I mean, for me, 40 years. I'm 40 years old. It's, I won't say legitimacy of a move, but kind of. Like a DDT used to be a big thing. Like, it hit once, you're dead. Now it's kind of like, oh, I can hit you with 15 of these while also spinning and doing other variants of it. I just, and Pal Driver, another big thing. Like you guys said it earlier with the 15 million Code Reds or Canadian Pal Drivers or whatever the hell Canadian Destroyer. Like that used to be Petey Williams. You hit it, done. And now it's like a mid-card thing. Like you see every single mid-carder try and hit
You
it.
had people doing Canadian Destroyers off ladders and no selling it. Come on.
Well, you had
Through
that
table-
one
through
spot in AEW where they
tables.
did it like 15 times.
Yeah. Who was it that it was? Wasn't it? Was it Phoenix? Ray Phoenix or
No, it's the other
Penta?
one.
So it was
Penta?
Penta and I don't even
One
know
of the
who it
one of
was.
the Young Bucks.
It was
They're
no, I thought it was the three. It was like
Canadian.
Penta, Young Bucks, and Garcia.
It probably
No,
was.
I think it was only two.
I just know it was dueling Canadian Destroyers. That it pissed off Fat Man so much that he's like, "I'm turning this off. I ain't even gonna watch this shit." It was on a Dynamite, which
There was
makes it even funnier, honestly.
Well, then they did a Canadian Destroyer off the top of a ladder through a table that almost killed the guy, and then but he no sells it anyway. So it's just like, what's the point of the spot?
Well,
Right.
that's just bitching about AEW. I'm
No, but that's just what was the point? If that was in WBS, they'd be bitching about it. What was the point in that spot? If they did the Canadian Destroyer through off a ladder through a table and then he no sells it, what's the point of doing the move? Because it looks good.
yes, absolutely, 100%.
you-
Yes.
Yeah, but you can also with that move, you're putting a hell of a lot of throwing a hell of a lot of caution to when that things go absolutely perfect.
I don't know. Just ask C. Copley. You know, it happens all the time where people will get severely injured over the most mundane of moves or the most crazy bullshit that's out there. I mean, I think that yes, that is also an issue, and we've talked about it many times on the show with AEW specifically. But there's also this sense of there's a sense of lucha libre in a lot of these athletic matches that we're talking about that, for better or worse, has changed the business. If you don't know how to do some sort of tope, if you don't know how to do some sort of flippy something, even as a big guy, you know, you always got to have Powerhouse Hobbs do some sort of, you know, moonsault off the top. And to be fair, that's been happening since the 90s. Bam Bam Bigelow, rest in peace, you know. But the
Vader,
reality,
baby.
Vader.
yeah, Vader also did it as well.
Mhm.
But case in point, you know, it's one of the first moves that I never actually did it, to be fair, but I was taught how to do it. Is a moonsault off the top. That as a big guy, that's what you're supposed to learn. That is the first like top rope move you do. And even when you're not a big guy, they teach you that. That's one of the first top rope moves because it's a lot easier. It puts away the mind block of jumping off the top rope. Doing a move off the top rope to the front is a lot more scary. But when you're doing it backwards and you just believe in it, so to speak, and do it the correct way, it makes life so much easier. Which kind of I kind of did that intentionally to talk about the science of wrestling and a little bit more about how injuries have gotten less, but also more. Let me start with, I'll go back around the other way with Dietz. What is your thought about, you know, concussion protocol nowadays, the injuries that are happening nowadays versus even 25, 30 years ago, even 35 years ago?
Well, the big thing for me, it's all like if we're talking injuries, it's crazy how quick these guys can now recover because everything is now a science when it comes to recovery. You have your cold plunges, your hot salt bath, or whatever these guys are doing to lose weight.
The cupping.
Epsom salt bath. That's what I was going for.
The cupping with the muscles and stuff.
Yeah, the cupping. Like, the recovery rate on these guys are just ludicrous. Like Aaron Rodgers, like blowing out his Achilles and almost coming back to play. Like, that's crazy. You couldn't think of that in, hell, even early 2000.
Yeah,
You'd be out 12 to 16 months if you blew out an Achilles.
Yeah.
Same with the knee back in the 90s. The 90s, you blow a knee out, you're out a year and a half. Now it's like, oh, you blew a knee out, you're back in, 3 months, 4 months?
Take a look at Austin. He never really was the same after he blew his knees out,
Yep.
Heavy G, what about you?
I think you're hearing more about it now with the athletes being injured because they want to keep their roster healthy. Evidently, I mean, but back in the 70s and 80s, pardon me, guys didn't really report injuries, especially if they were in a big storyline. I mean, look at Paul Orndorff, what happened to his right arm atrophying, because he didn't want to get the surgery because he hurt his neck, but he was in a program with Hogan. Was printing money, as they would say. So back then, there was no guaranteed contract, so you played hurt. They don't have to play hurt now, which is a good thing. I love the concussion protocol. Stopping the match for blood. I don't like the WWE does it, but it's their program, so that's what they do. But like Deep said, they're just coming back from injuries quick. Sometimes too quick, though, for my liking. I mean, case in point, Samoa Joe, when he got his concussion, he came back right away and got even a more severe concussion, which put him on the commentary booth and took him out for what, a year and a half?
Yeah.
Another Daniel Bryan, another one. If that's why I don't like the really big moves like off the top of the ladder stuff like that, because I mean, I cringe every time I see a Darby Allin match anymore, because it's just like, oh, he does a coffin drop, thank God.
Even the coffin drop is ridiculous. Like, some of those people just eat it wrong, and just the torque that he could get on his lower back, it just
and
doesn't look good at times.
But that's a safe move considering all the other crazy shit that he does. Plus, there's more of an off. I don't know if there's an off season per se for these guys, but it seems like you see guys go 3-4 years without a break. Now a year and a half, and I mean,
they take a couple months off now.
They take a couple months off. I mean, look what's going on with Seth Rollins right now. With he has like a minor tweak injury. What do they do? They right into the storyline where freaking Bronson Reed just bombs that piss out of him off the top right with 6 tsunamis. You didn't see that back then. They just kept going and going and going and going and going.
Fat Man, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I was gonna basically say almost the same thing. Like, the philosophy's changed to where, like, oh, we're working hurt back then. Oh, we're working hurt because I'm gonna lose my spot. Now it's all like, I have this money. I don't have to work hurt. 2, I'm still gonna be mainly in the spot where I left. Yeah, there is no off season, but I mean, they do get more days off now than they did.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what I was trying to like point up and say. Like, we don't. Back in the early 90s, they're on the road 300 days a year.
More.
Ever since COVID, it hasn't got to that level. Like, they're taking time off.
They're doing less. They're doing less house shows now.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like one show a weekend, maybe. Like, they're doing less shows because, one, profitability. That's the main reason. Let's face it that way. It's not wrestler health. It's profitability. But 2, I mean, the house shows that they do have draw pretty well. So but the difference between now and then is.
And then he even. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to bring up Jake Roberts, who broke his wrist. Then he was Then he cut off the cast 2 days after he broke his wrist, and then broke it even more, and then he was out for a year. Like, now it's okay. We're just gonna.
So I want to, because we're talking about this injury stuff. I think WWE has like this happy medium now where they've got enough dates to actually keep guys in a nice groove. That's something that AEW doesn't really have because they're just doing straight TV shows, basically 3 nights a week.
So my counterpoint to that is that AEW lets their wrestlers work at other places.
Mm-hmm.
So, but counterpoint to my own counterpoint, the people who need reps aren't necessarily
out there.
Yes, they're getting booked, but they're not getting booked as much as other people. You know what I mean? So they're still green. So there's a flip side to every coin. So I will defend AEW on that part to where their wrestlers are getting booked at other spots to get reps in. And it's not just to get reps in because it's also to make more money. But yeah.
But also the locker room isn't destroying itself either anymore. I mean, you figure back.
Well,
actually,
is it as frequent as it was back though in the 70s and 80s?
If you say locker room destroying himself, you're talking about drugs, right?
Drugs, alcohol.
Okay, that's okay. Correct. They're not going out
the extracurricular.
I mean, most of these people, some still do, but most of these wrestlers aren't going to bars till 4 a.m, and they're going to their hotel rooms, working out, eating right, and waking up, going to the next town, or going home. Like that's
or playing video games in the locker room instead of shooting up or whatever. You know, that's another thing. The wrestler has evolved along with this, to where they've saw how many of their brethren beforehand that burnt the candle at both ends, if you want to use a cliche, with drugs and alcohol and all this other stuff. And they're like, hey, too many of us are dropping like flies here. Let's hold on a minute here. And I think that's another key factor in
also think that's not going for also the health wise, but money wise, they're looking at all these wrestlers who it's sad to see going on GoFundMe's for health reasons, and they're all like, okay, maybe we should save some money. And that's why they want the guaranteed contracts too, to where they can be like, hey, now I'm guaranteed for life. My kid's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. So, yeah.
But all the ones that you said, they got GoFundMe, Jake Roberts. Who I'm trying to think of who else. Razor Ramon had one. Yep. Kamala had one. It's back in the time where
Luger did.
Luger did.
I think Duggan did.
Duggan was cancer. So I don't know if it really was that, but who else had one? Didn't Harley Race have one?
Yeah.
Harley Race had one. Superstar Billy Graham had one.
Look at with all due respect, and I'm gonna bitch about him later, but one of the things that Chris Jericho really does well is make sure that if he's got money to spend, he puts it at other wrestlers' spots. He donated to literally everyone.
Right.
Wait a second. Lash LaRue for life? Oh, sorry.
I love that, by the way.
I had a
You just
moment.
get ready to do a riptide.
God bless the Raging Cajun.
Let's fucking go. Yes. Where was I going with all this? Basically, here's the thing, and I want to say, with all due respect to what we're talking about with WWE and AEW, there are a lot more wrestlers than that out there,
Yes.
and a lot of people that don't have that same luxury that are still not doing this. However, even those guys are doing a better job taking care of themselves because the generation before them watched their generation before them kill themselves. So guys like Colin Delaney, who's teaching people, Cheeseburger, who's got a huge school down here as well. It's just all these, major professional wrestlers who came up under the Kowalskis and the Harley races and stuff like that, and watched all these guys literally drop dead at 40, 35 and whatnot, needed to make sure that the next generation was okay, that generation didn't do the stuff that even they did. I'm not going to say any specific names, but there are guys, even in my generation, that were not exactly the most healthy in more than one way. But the reality is that that's gotten so much smaller. People are a lot more apt to be, exactly that athletic style because they're more athletic because they're taking care of themselves better. And that's great to see. That being said, there's always going to be that issue with health insurance and whatnot. And that's a whole nother thing. Just to give you an idea, the average age of wrestlers between now and even 20 years ago has shot up. The median age has been was about 30, 29, 30 in 2000. It's now 36 in WWE. They're tending to go older because they tend to be going for longer. A lot of these guys are wrestling for 15, 20 years now and can, because they're able to be safer and more importantly, able to put some effort towards actually rehabilitating when they get hurt and not worried about, well, they'll always be worried about their spot, but they're more apt to take the time off once they get hurt.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's wrestlers where it's all like, oh God, I can't believe he wrestled a match when he was 39. Look at how slow he was. Now it's
Now you have freaking Ricky Morton doing Canadian destroyers and shit. Like the show that you brought me, like you said, like you took me to, Sleazy. The average age was dead.
Really, it was. There's the big difference between the previous generations and now was that show. That's a great example of guys that just beat the shit out of each other, for years and years and years. The reason why I brought up wrestling schools is obviously it goes deeper into another topic here. I'm going to start with Heavy G on this one. One of the biggest things that was always been kind of the quiet thing is actually breaking into professional wrestling. The Young Bucks will happily tell you that they're backyarders from the get-go, but they got themselves trained. A lot of wrestlers came from a lot of different schools. We talked about the school Kowalski, guys like Jay Freddy, Slick Wagner Brown, obviously probably one of the most famous ones that are currently on TV, Triple H. All were Kowalski guys. What is your thoughts about being more open and kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit more on professional wrestling schools? And have you looked at professional wrestling schools or been to one? I'll go from there.
Well, I haven't been to one. Actually, there was I want to say a backyard promotion that was around our area. That actually had like a building that they actually ran shows in, and I actually tried out for that once and had a big guy throwing me around like a rag doll. I think nowadays, wrestling schools have gotten better. I think we got into a point like in the 80s and maybe 90s where people were just opening up wrestling school just as a money grab and not training them properly. I think once Triple H opened up that performance center and they got, I mean, if you hear all the stories from the performance center about promo school and this type of thing and this type of ring, and they go, okay, they go here to learn lucha, they go here to learn Japanese style, they go here to learn where they can just well round everybody in a wrestler. I think that's great. If you have people that know the business, know it well, they can be great trainers. I mean, who would you rather be trained by, Doink or God rest him, or Triple H?
My answer is neither of them. I would be rather trained by Mark House because
Okay, well,
My-
see,
Well,
But-
my answer would be who. Those that don't do it doesn't matter. You can say Doink or Triple H, but I mean, as long as they're teaching you the basic fundamentals and not breaking your neck,
right.
that would be. It doesn't matter as long as they're teaching you the right way. It doesn't. A good trainer doesn't try to break you until you can't get up the next day, and that's the old school way.
Like-
You got to be tough. Why?
Okay, Oli.
Kowalski.
Okay, Oli.
Oli would do the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oli would do the same thing. But you asked the question also about pulling the curtain back. Yeah, back in the day, you had to know somebody and actually, I don't want to say force your way in, but it wasn't readily available like it is now. You can just look up and, okay, I'm going to go to a wrestling school. There wasn't all that kind of thing. You had to know someone that knew someone to maybe get a tryout at a wrestling school, and then they would do the same thing like my Fatman said, make you run stairs until you puke, do 500 free squats, 500 sit-ups, and whatever. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing that it's that open anymore, but I mean, I haven't performed. You guys have. So I mean, I'm looking at it like from the outside, like outside the looking glass, because I never got to do it. Do you like the fact that it's that wide open now? Or is it like, okay, they're letting some people in that probably shouldn't be doing it?
There's always going to be people who shouldn't be doing it. That's just reality.
Well, yeah.
There's basically nothing you can do to change that. Like I was trying to get before, why would you want to break someone down? And they could just quit but still have the skills. Why wouldn't you want to teach them the basic fundamentals and grow them? I never understood the we're going to break you down until you puke and deceive.
So that's where I will chime in. I come from that. Like, the people that I trained, I didn't even know he was a wrestler at the time. And I literally was walking into a job. It was literally my very first time going into this location. And there's a fight that has broken out to the right of me. I square up with him. He squares up with me. And I look down, and there's a guy covered in basically blood. And I said, "You cool?" And he goes, "Yeah." Except there's a gentleman behind me who was trying to run over and like get a cheap shot. And I just, throw a little elbow, catches the guy square in the nose. He falls down. I introduce myself. I'm like, "Yo, what's your name?" He's like, "Oh, my name's Justin Roberts." I'm like, "Oh, cool." I'm like, "Hey, my name's Brandon." I'm like, "Yeah, guys call me JT. I'm kind of like a local legend around here. I do professional wrestling." I'm like, "I love wrestling. I'm huge." And then that's how I got into everything, is because I defended somebody.
That's
But
different.
for me, no. I'm getting into it.
Okay.
Getting into it. But when I went, I got beaten. I got broken to a point where I wanted to stop. The reason why they did that to me is because they wanted to make sure I wanted it. So for me, I didn't mind that.
I still don't like.
took my
No,
ass kicking.
I don't like it. I still don't like it. You can tell if somebody wants it or not, even if you don't have to beat them down. You know how you can tell someone wants it or not? They keep paying and they keep coming back. That's different than. I know there's some schools of I never
I love it. Like the way that I was brought up on it, I loved. I
never
appreciate.
understood that. You're gonna weed out more people than you are.
Which back you got to remember, this is 2004.
Okay.
So for me, this was like.
No, I
I'm
understand
literally
that.
swelled to the gills because I'm literally just finishing college. Like,
no, I
was used to it.
From
from my background, I was so used to it. I treated it as football camp. Literally, that's what I had it done. I had a blast with it, and at the same time, I like where I'm at right now, and I have a lot of some good friends that are still in the biz. If I ever feel the hinkling to jump back in a ring, I can make that phone call and have it done. So for me, I see both sides. I get it, but at the same time, I appreciate what brought me into the game.
There is a sense of you need to go through this hell that we all went through because that's what makes us brothers. And to an extent, I get that as well. I was never an athletic guy. Okay. To the shock of nobody on this show, right? But when I started training, and I do mean it when I said I actually was training, I was doing the same drills as everybody else, even though I 100% was never going to become an actual wrestler. My thought process always was, I'm just going to be a manager. I'm just going to be, somebody who works the ring, doing gimmicks, stuff like that. Never in the ring because I was nearly 300 pounds, could barely do anything. And I didn't want to get, significantly injured for obvious reasons.
Hi.
I was still doing full on bumps, still doing the drills. In fact, when I was doing drills, I was the guy that if you didn't do better than me, you were stuck doing Hindu squats all night. I was the bar, and I put that bar very fucking high for a lot of people that probably should have been outperforming me, but weren't. And the reality is, I fucking wanted to be in this business more than anybody else. And Fatman will tell you this. I respect professional wrestling more than I respect anything else in my life, because I know the trials and tribulations that go into it, what can happen in a blink of a second if you don't do something correctly. And that's the other piece of this, is that you need to be very serious about how you deal with the person that's right in front of you, because you are in charge of their life just as much as they're in charge of your life in the ring. And if you are not serious enough and you are not committed enough to professional wrestling to not fuck around in that way, you will seriously hurt somebody. And you'll seriously hurt somebody that has no health insurance, that has no way to pay bills otherwise, who has no other way to make an income. And so that reason, I get it. That being said, there are so many great fucking schools in the United States that will happily train you in very professional ways. Obviously, the Performance Center. Obviously, Flatbacks. Monster Factory is probably the most.
Academy, yeah.
The Monster Factory is probably the most prolific one because of Danny Cage and how many people came out of that. Guys like, obviously, Sanjay Dutt and D'Lo Brown, fucking Brian Heffron, Riddle most recently.
MJF.
The former MJF was a different one. He was Creative Pro. But guys like Big Show, Punishment Martinez, our former world heavyweight champion, Damian Priest. There's so many great talents. But then you have stuff like Booker T's place, the dojo from New Japan, the Nightmare Factory. Obviously, I put a bullet in Bruce, but take a bullet for Tom. There's a reason why that was said in a jest, obviously, but he's one of the most prolific trainers as well. There's so many big guys out there that do such a great job of training people that weren't necessarily huge stars. Norman Smiley, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound very terrible, but it's the truth. Tyler Breeze, Sean Spears, they're not, the top echelon of of wrestlers, but they're amazing trainers. Mark House is probably the best person I've ever dealt with when it came to training, because he knew how to put literally point A to point B together in a ring in a very safe and very phenomenal manner. Now, when people ask me who trained me, I will say Colin Delaney and Mark House, because Colin Delaney is the name. And yeah, technically he did help train me, but the person that I truly say trained me was Mark.
But you got to think back about you're back in the 60s and the 50s, 60s, and 70s. People that said, "Hey, well, I'm going to be like a better kind of pro wrestler," they did that, one, to make sure that they wanted it, but two, some people just drove them out of the business because they wanted to protect their spot. There wasn't a whole like with the territory days. If you weren't on top, you weren't making a lot of money. So they tried to discourage people from getting in. Now with the plethora of independence and everything else, that helps the fact that okay, if people are gonna do this, we need to train them right and not, you know, not close the door, so to speak. Like I said, once they pulled the curtain back, it was. I think that's when all these wrestling schools became better equipped to. I should say better equipped, but train better, train smarter, and that's why you have the athletes that you have today. I mean, the talent's amazing.
Just to give you an idea of how much pro wrestling has grown, there is currently, and this is according to Cage Match, worldwide there are 4,000 promotions that are accepting wrestlers, running shows, doing stuff over the course of the last 10 years even. Do you believe, and I'll just give this to everybody, do you believe that the fact that wrestling schools are more open to taking in people that aren't necessarily pro wrestlers is helping the business as a whole? Or do you think it's actually causing more bloat than anything, because you're seeing a roster of 300 to 400 wrestlers on two major professional wrestling brands now? I'll start with Fatman.
WWE does it all the time. They don't bring in just pro wrestlers; they bring in athletes. They bring in top level athletes, while some of these other probably local promotions bring in your local high school, college, junior college athletes.
One of them just won an Olympic gold medal
for
Yes.
WWE.
Yeah.
Enough, yeah. But it's, I think, this day and age, if you're an athlete, you can be a pro wrestler. You just you need the passion for it, and you need the skill set for it. You can be a great athlete. But you can't teach passion. You gotta want it, and that's the thing. Like, most people will be like, "Oh, pro wrestling, I see that on TV. Like, I'm going to be a TV star. I'm going to make millions of dollars." Well, then they find out
It
here's
ain't
a hot
ballet.
here's a hot dog. Here's a handshake. Here's living in your car.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
it's not glamorous. They just think, "Oh, pro wrestling, I'm going to go right to WWE or AEW." Like,
Yep.
that's not how that works.
There are a lot of
So,
people that busted their ass for many years and never made it above
Yep.
Ring of Honor spot shows.
Yes.
And I'm not just saying, oh yeah, because they were very good. There are some of the best wrestlers in the world that never made it on TV.
Yep.
Legitimately. And that tells you how competitive this is. And Heavy G kind of referenced it a little bit, and I intentionally kind of pushed it aside because I wanted to talk about the specifics about, professional wrestling and wrestling schools, but pulling back the curtain as a whole. Obviously, this podcast doesn't exist if the curtain has been pulled back. You know what I mean? But what are you, and this will be the last topic here. What is everyone's opinions on the the intermingling became. Everyone will jump up and down and say kayfabe's dead. Do you believe kayfabe's truly dead? Do you believe that pulling back the curtain has been a good thing or a bad thing in professional wrestling? And lastly, what do you think the future lies for professional wrestling from there in terms of kayfabe and seeing what we're doing from here on out? And I'll start with Dietz.
So for me, it's always been interesting to see like the little things that get shown. That's what always interests me, is because I want to see what happens. Like specifically right now in today's product, WWE is doing a lot more of these one camera long shots. And to me, I appreciate the hell out of it because you get a different sense because it's something that hasn't been done before. In turn, I don't believe kayfabe is essentially dead. Actually think it's kind of a nice little revival. It's going through we're in a phase right now where, yes, scripted, but at the same time, the story is so flippin' good that we do not care who wins as long as it's a damn good story. And we got that for literally 2 years now with Cody and Bloodline. That is legitimately the perfect example of what today's wrestling is about. Great over-the-top stories that splinter off and create other things, and everything comes back around. Do I think kayfabe is dead? Maybe, but at the same time, I fucking love today's product.
Heavy G, what's your opinion?
Is kayfabe dead? Yeah, in a way. Like the strict way. I think if you can still keep things secret, or okay, hide or try to like not reveal everything of how everything's done. But like Deet said, the way the product is today, I don't think anyone cares that even if it is dead, I don't think anyone cares. If you have something that you can sink your teeth into, and we know what professional wrestling is, but that you can sink your teeth into it and suspend your belief, even if it's for that match, that 15-minute match, or that 3 hour, or in case in AEW 10-hour pay-per-views. You can suspend your belief that this is actually going on and enjoy it. Man, you can get yourself lost in it. I mean, you can get yourself lost in movies. You get yourself lost in television shows. It's the same thing. You can get yourself lost if you immerse yourself, and if you love the product, if you love the sport. It shouldn't matter whether kayfabe is there or not. You'll watch it for the storylines. You'll appreciate what the athletes are doing, and you'll just appreciate it for what it is. And that's why I love it.
Fatman.
No, it's not dead. It's not dead because we go on this show and we preview some things, and we'll say every once in a while, God, I don't know where this is going, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
Like, I don't think it's dead. If you would have asked me that 2-3 years ago, I said, yeah, it's dead. But now, I think it's back. WWE has done a really good job of, not getting, especially on their bigger shows, and not getting news out. And even if it does get out, pull up that one side you pull up at the beginning of the show, Heavy G.
Oh, yeah.
No one believes him anymore because he's wrong 90% of the time now. So if you read dirt sheets, you're just reading bullshit now. Like,
so on that note, what's on the dirt sheets, Fatman? No.
Well, but at the same time, he's saying he's overrating WWE matches. Like, are you even #watching the product? You're not. You can't be if you're overrating it, because you're underrating the shit out of it and overrating AEW. It's like AEW pays him or something. I don't know, but going back to the kayfabe, no, it's not dead. And even in AEW, sometimes you're like, holy shit, I did not expect that to happen. Like the Mariah May, Tony Storm thing. I did not expect Mariah May to turn.
I mean, I expected that right off the get, but
Well,
at the same time, you didn't expect the like, hey, I'm going to stab you with a freaking shoe and smear blood all over my face and basically cause the goriest women's, I guess you would call it, segment,
but
in history.
It's the way that it's being protected now. They're and you can say, "Oh, I knew Roman Reigns was coming back at SummerSlam." That blah blah. I mean, so did I, but it still doesn't matter.
Everybody still went fucking nuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you can predict something and be right. It doesn't mean kayfabe's dead. Like, yeah.
I got a question for Sleazy. With the WWE product and everything else, how wonderful it is right now. Do you think it's because they got rid of the old school mentality with Vince?
I don't think so. I think that at this point, professional wrestling transcends even Vince McMahon because there's so many great minds in the business. Saying that Vince McMahon was the only great mind in the business is an absolute misnomer. Even he would say other people would. Yes.
That man's washing the window over there.
I am. So when Vince was booking, you'd hear a lot of people say, you are going out there for an audience of one.
Mm-hmm.
That's changed.
Yes.
That's definitely changed. Yes.
It's not just what Vince likes. Now the booking has been what the masses like, what the actual fans want to see.
They're not afraid to pivot anymore.
Yeah, they're not afraid to pivot. Like, there's not we start this new gimmick. Oh, he had one bad reaction. Done. Push killed. Going back down to NXT. No, they're more patient now.
I guess I didn't word it eloquently enough. I think that's what I was trying to say is that there's more freedom in WWE now. Because like you said, you're performing to an audience of one. Now it's, I don't say the reins are free, but it's a lot less shackled than it was.
I think it's a combination of multiple different factors that are causing this. There is a shift in the business, and the shift was caused by having another major company pop up. And as much as people like to, complain about all that kind of shit, the reality is competition's always good.
Correct. Look at WWE's booking in the end of
2005.
2019 when AEW started on a regular TV show.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns was eating dog food. Come on.
Wasn't that
suffering succotash?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. 8 months later, the Bloodline storyline is born. And we're 4 years in, and it's still going.
Mm-hmm. And it probably will.
And it's still the hottest thing currently going.
Yes.
It is. It truly is. And I think to kind of answer my own questions here, is kayfabe dead? No, in the sense of if you and I are working in a ring and we're doing shit here and there, no, kayfabe's still alive there. If you are trying to blur the lines between if you like a guy or you don't like a guy, no, that's very much still blurred. Look at Punk, look at Rollins and all that shit. They've turned, what was originally real life hatred into storylines. That's happened over the course of history when it comes to professional wrestling. And it's still happening to this day. I think that in that sense, kayfabe is still alive and well. In terms of how you know, little Mikey that's watching at 14, 15 years old wants to get in the ring and actually do professional wrestling as a full-time job, yeah, kayfabe's dead in that respect because there's way more places where that kid can go get trained, get more athletic, get into a professional mindset about professional wrestling. That if you didn't know a guy who knew Killer Kowalski, you were backyarding it until you accidentally hurt somebody in the ring and somebody pulled you aside and said, you need to go see this guy, asshole. And you need to pay your dues, type of thing. So in that respect, kayfabe is dead. Having athletes come in and do shit, that's kayfabe's dead in that respect because it's not them necessarily growing up in the business and doing specifically professional wrestling. They're athletes that are being courted by WWE to come into the business. There are a lot of guys in the last couple of years they did a 2-3 year contract and they're like, nah, man, this isn't for me. And that tells you everything you need to know about how they're doing their recruiting at that point, because they're looking at athletes first and going, maybe this is something that we can make you work, because there are certain wrestlers that are now huge that probably wouldn't necessarily be in the spot that they are because of those, moments of, yeah, I was a college football guy and then I became the literal biggest thing in the world in The Rock. You know what I mean? And then Roman as well did pretty much the same thing. Joe was a prolific football player. Look at Brock fucking Lesnar.
Just gonna say Brock Lesnar.
Like, to go on a little bit further, we've never had this style of recruitment. Like, NIL is now a gigantic thing. And WWE is taking full advantage of that. I mean, Christ, they put up, Jacob Henry on Monday Night Raw. And he's straight upset. And then it wasn't just Mark Henry. It was Mark and Jacob.
Yep.
Because Jacob's an NIL guy. And they even said, hey, he's an NIL. He has an NIL deal with the WWE. You could see him in the future.
Fatman, what's the most recent video game you've played?
NCAA College Football 2025.
Why is that?
Because after 11 goddamn years, college students are getting paid royalties for their likenesses.
And WWE is a big proponent of that with the NIL, And I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, but it's definitely a pathway. And I will happily love to see anybody get paid in professional wrestling, because I watched so many people didn't get paid who are doing some of the best work of their lives and got paid literally a hot dog and a handshake. And I feel like that with those pipelines, with those, with the wrestling schools that have been out there, like Flatbacks has only been around 10 years. Monster Factory, obviously, Danny Cage has been around forever, but a lot of the newer places haven't been around all that long. Creative Pros, 10, 15 years old. What's the other big one? Obviously, Cheeseburgers is relatively new. Seth Rollins school.
Black and Bold.
Yeah. That hasn't been around that long. But they're making great, not just making money, but making stars. And that's
Booker
the
T
reality.
School. Yeah, that's it.
I was going to say House of Glory, but it's not that.
Yeah, I almost said House of Glory.
You'd think I would know. What is it? I can't remember offhand. But yeah, the point of all of this is that wrestling has obviously changed, and it will continue to change and evolve.
Reality of wrestling.
Thank you. I knew it was something of blah. I guess the end result of this, and I'll just end it here, is that we have so much to look forward to. I'm 40 fucking years old next year. We've grown up on, every single one of us has grown up on professional wrestling in one form or another. And to sit here and see how it's changed from when we were, in middle school talking shit about Hulk Hogan to other friends.
To being 40 years old and talking shit about
Shit.
Hulk Hogan.
Thank you. But the reality is that we've got so much more to take a look at and enjoy because the product's changing, because production's better, attire's better.
Fuck, we have the internet, folks.
Yes. We're able to access more of it. I could go today and watch New Japan Pro Wrestling live. How? Because of the internet. I could go and watch AAA live. Why? Internet. Why? I can watch ICW. I don't know why I would do that, but I could live because of the internet. And that's the biggest takeaway out of all of this. That was the biggest change in professional wrestling, if you want to think about anything else, because now you have accessibility. I could go watch Excite fucking Wrestling 6 hours away from their show live because they go live on Twitch. They go live on independentwrestling.tv, and GCW goes live on independentwrestling.tv. And for the low cost of $9 a month or $10 a month, you can watch that stuff. And that's why there's so many more wrestlers in the business, and that's why there's so much more money in the business. Fatman, news and rumors?
Kevin Sullivan passed away.
That's a big one. Right off the fucking bat. Why don't you just kick us?
Rest in peace, Taskmaster.
Rest in peace, murderer of the Benoit family. No?
Since this is going to be our last show, since we're going to get canceled now.
What are you talking about?
That
Listen,
hasn't even
we
been
don't
the
have
first
Ryan
time
on
it's
the
brought
show.
up.
We're not the only one to say it.
Yeah. Here's the reality. Kevin Sullivan booked his own fucking divorce. That's what it. There's the reality.
Yeah, basically.
That's true.
Yeah, he basically did that. I remember the mixed tag with him and Jackie against Woman and Benoit. I don't know if Benoit tried to do that. Benoit tried to do a splash on top of both of them. The table didn't even budge.
Yep.
It was great because those and the girls started fighting. They were like, and then, oh shit, they got. I mean, like you said, he booked his own, but you would talk about a mind for the business.
Yes.
Oh yeah, God
Ooh.
yes. What is your favorite moment? And I'll obviously, Fat Man's got to start with this one. What's your favorite moment of Kevin Sullivan?
I mean, I did like his matches with Benoit. They beat the fuck out of each other. I do like the Varsity Squad version of him too. So, but no, it's probably his matches with Benoit.
Fair. Heavy G. You kind of alluded to it, but
but one of the things that I remember about him is when he first started, how freaking jacked he was when he was down in Florida Championship Wrestling when he first started. I mean, he had like the little top hat and did the pose like that. I mean, I just the totality of him. Maybe Sullivan, my son, like that kind of thing. But just overall, his mentality for the business is what I remember. Everything that he did. I mean, just to listen to him talk about how to, like, on those guest bookers, like how he would book something and why he would do it. I just like Kevin Sullivan, even though he did murder the Ben Muffin.
Deets.
I respect you, Booker Man.
I love
Listen,
that.
the shit he did with Pillman was awesome.
Yeah.
So for me, that's where I'll always go through.
My personal favorites are mainly just his Ring of Honor appearances are really underrated, in my opinion.
Was it Faces of Fear too? Yes. That yeah.
The Faces of Fear and the Dungeon and Dune storyline, which was so stupid and hokey and yet hilarious, I loved. It was a stupid moment, but it was just really ouch. It's not hot.
Did he bring the Yeti in?
Yes,
The
that
Yeti.
was part of
the Yeti. The Yeti.
The Yeti and the Yeti. One of the greatest calls of all time. Up there with JR.
Scott
the best in the
D'Amore.
business screams, the Yeti!
The Yeti.
Scott D'Amore revised Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling.
Well done. We knew it was happening. It was just a question of when. He's got some big names booked on that show too.
Some TNA guys, yeah.
He's got.
got
Let me look it up. Maple Leaf. Their first show.
They have Jinder Mahal, Josh Alexander, Giselle Shaw, Kushida,
Shocker.
Alex Payne, Kevin Knight, Jake Something, Kylie Ray, and Trevor Lee.
Those are a lot.
That's
of
not a bad
big-ass
little
fucking
turnout
names.
there, sir.
I
Not bad at
love,
all.
yeah, I love how if you check out the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling X or Twitter. Oh, we'll get on that one later on. Remind me to circle back around on that from why we're no longer on X.
Yeah.
But if you go to Maple Leaf at Maple Leaf PW, they show a lot of their old Border City wrestling stuff. So shit like when, Tyson Dukes faced Shinsuke Nakamura randomly in the middle of nowhere, or the time splitters versus Petey Williams and Tyson Dukes, and there's just so many great pieces in the bin, so to speak, that no one's ever seen. It's crazy. Check it out.
TK Group reports 2024 second quarter financial results, sets quarterly revenue record.
Wow. Thanks to us. Thanks to every single one of us fuckers.
While TK is also a member of UFC and WWE, so
Yeah, but we contributed to it.
your face.
Many hundreds of dollars. Thanks to WrestleMania.
Bound for Glory is going to be in Detroit.
Why?
Because
they want Rhino on one more show?
Probably.
he was on. I mean, if you watch the product.
No, I don't. I don't hashtag watch the product. Why would I? Why would I watch TN? I don't even watch WWE.
So you don't even know what the WWE title match is for Bash at Berlin, then.
Probably not. Yeah, it's probably somewhere in Detroit.
Bash at Berlin is somewhere in Detroit.
Yeah.
Cool.
Could be.
Hey. Sabu was billed from Bombay, Michigan. I'm pretty sure there's a Berlin there too.
There is an East Berlin, PA. I literally live like right next to it.
I think there's a Berlin, New Jersey too, right? Yeah, there's a Berlin, New Jersey.
There's a Lebanon, New York. Anyway, the WWE title match is Cody Rhodes defends against Kevin Owens. So
KO.
There's a Berlin Raceway in Michigan.
There you go. See, that's where he's coming from. That's where they're having the main event. Cody Rhodes, KO, Berlin Raceway, Michigan. Be there, be square. $25 for front row, $20 for general admission. Tickets go up $5 a piece at the door.
Heavy G, put yourself over.
You can catch me in the Hall of Famer Fat Man on the Best Darn Sports Show Period 2 this Sunday, 10 o'clock. We are going to be discussing AM.
Morning.
Who the fuck does this in the morning?
Because this is going to be a long ass fucking show.
It's going to be about
What are you doing?
we are going over every game of the 2024 NFL season. We have divisions. We have every game, every division picked, winners, playoffs as a group and individually. We're going to go through all that. We're going to go from last year's stats, additions and add-ons, subtractions, people that lost their free agency, you name it. We're going to talk about it. If it's football you want, you're going to see.
I love football, but that's a lot of games, guys.
Well, we're not gonna go through everyone, but we did pick the schedule for every team. Mark, Batman, and I, and we'll go from there. And we'll soon have a Olympics wrap-up show that Sleazy you need to be a part of as well.
Oh yes, because we need to talk about breakdancing.
Ray gun, baby, let's go.
Oh, that was horrible. I thought she was gonna do the curly shuffle there when she was laying on the floor.
She busted out the fucking sprinkler, dude.
Yeah, that was horrible.
I love it.
That was horrific. But
Apparently that just a deal with Funko.
That's money in the bank.
Just means all of us could be Olympians. We just need to go get third world citizenship, and then let's go break dancing.
Oh, you got it. Tug of war, baby. We should be it. Team USA right here. No one's gonna be able to budge us.
And then Japan just pulls out all their sumo wrestlers.
Brock Lesnar, sir.
Yeah, we're fucked. No matter what.
Yeah, it's a large march. Yeah, catch me on the X at Legendary Deets. We talk shit about pro wrestling and all of lovely sports. I love sports. This has been the best year. Football's coming up. Shit, I might even tune into your show just to watch you talk about Ravens, because Ravens got the king. We got new rules. You ain't gonna be able to hip drop tackle anymore. Good luck tackling my speedy quarterback and then fucking King Henry himself.
Wow, I'm at TWS Sleazy.
At TWS Fatman.
I'm not though.
Are you?
He deleted it off his goddamn phone because he's an asshole.
But it's still alive.
Well, there's a reason why, which you're going to talk about now.
Yes, thank you for. Okay, so fuck off, X, because used to. So obviously we do the whole spiel about where you can find this live show. One of those was X until about 3 weeks ago when they decided to paywall the ability to live stream on fucking X. So fuck all of that. We're not doing that. Fuck all of it. So you can find we're still on there, but we're not going to stream there anymore. So we're Sleazy Fatman on X, Instagram, Threads, fuck X, yes, and TikTok. Please, everyone, if you have a TikTok account, please follow our TikTok account at Sleazy Fatman. We want to be able to stream to TikTok. Please follow us everywhere there. Find our videos, twitch.tv, youtube.com/Sleazy and Fatman, twitch.tv/Sleazy and Fatman, and premium stuff on onlyfans.com/wrestling show. Liking, subscribe on your favorite platform, and click that notification icon on YouTube. So when we go live, like on Thursday, when TWS After Dark comes back, and my crown will be put on my head as we talk Wrestling Jeopardy ECW style. We're going to do that. I'm going to dominate, and nobody's going to even fucking touch me. Explore more content on thewrestlingshow.com, including articles, merch, all that cool stuff. So with thanks to Heavy G, the only Olympic gold medalist on the Professional Wrestling Podcast.
One,
ever.
It's not an Olympic gold medal. Two,
it is two.
It's
fuck off. I'm calling it an Olympic gold medal.
I was gonna put him over.
No,
even
no,
more.
no, 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 no. I'm giving him Olympic gold medalist.
I was gonna put him over even more than Olympic gold medalist. There is such thing, the smallpox gold medalist.
Well done. Okay, I'll give you that. And as always, for Sleazy,
For the Fat Man.
this is the Wrestling Show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Peace.
Fuck Dave Meltzer, because obviously. Fuck Tony Khan and his alleged coke habit. A hot dog's not a sandwich. A sub is not a sandwich. A burger is a sandwich. Burritos and tacos are not sandwiches, you Indiana pieces of shit. Next week, we're going to talk about, again, something.
I'm a truth that you seem to run from. I'm an army of one. I'm a clip in your gun. I'm the pain in the game. The bloodshed in your name. When there's nothing to gain.